Hello and welcome to our paint along. It's intended to be just a little practice, a little paint and play, no pressure, just enjoy yourself and start practicing with your watercolour techniques, paints, brushes, paper. The more you do it, the more you get to know how they work. So we're working today on £140 Winsor & Newton watercolour. It's cold pressed. It's only 30% cotton, so it has quite a nice texture to it, and it's actually an A4 size. So I printed out the line drawing, and then I basically used old-fashioned carbon paper to transfer it straight onto my paper. Now, carbon paper is quite useful because I can rub the lines out if I want to. I can make them lighter. I was using blue chalk to transfer my drawings, but because my boat is white, I don't want the blue in this because I can't paint over it. So this is a better option, and it doesn't matter if these lines show through because they will be the planking. We're using a split primary palette of a cool and a warm yellow, a cool and a warm blue. So that's a phthalo and an ultramarine. This is a lemon and sort of a cadmium yellow type yellow. It's called Sennelier Yellow Deep. And this is a Rose Madder Lake and a Sennelier red, so a cool and a warm red. I've also added in a burnt sienna and a raw umber, so a couple of earth colours, because they help to tone down the other colours that you mix from two primaries and make them look more natural. So the idea with this, and I have done a trial run, but the idea with this is that we work quickly. So we try not to faff over too many details. I know I'm very guilty of that. So you should have been able to download the photograph, so the link will be in the description. Well, let's get started. I've got 2 pots of water, one to clean my brush and one for clean water. I have my board tipped at probably 20 degrees, which helps with the flow of the water. I also have some kitchen roll, and sometimes in these I will use some white gouache. Now you can use masking fluid to mask out your boat, but I have bravely decided I'm going to try and paint round mine. But obviously if you use masking fluid, you'll need to pause and give yourself a chance for it to dry. So the first thing I'm going to do is the sky. I'm going to be using ultramarine as my main blue for this, and I want to try and keep my background, all the foliage, distant. So we've got this sort of quite grey sky, so let's have a little bit of ultramarine and a little bit of crimson. Now that makes quite a nice sort of purple. To make it a bit more grey, we're going to add in a little bit of burnt sienna. And that will give us quite a nice lavender grey colour for our sky. And I'm going to kind of paint around the clouds. I'm going to work quickly, and then I'm going to drop in a little bit of water to soften some of the areas. So clean water. I don't want it all softened. Some of my edges and leave some of them hard. There we are. I'm going to bring that right the way down. Dry my brush off a bit with clean water and just gently soften some of this. So I've only got a couple of hard edges in there. So that's my sky. I'm going to carry on with my foliage. Now, we've got a reflection here, almost down to here. So I need to think about where my bottom of the land stops and the reflection begins, because we want to mimic the colours. And I always find this hard, so bear with me. Let me try first and see how we do. So I want to keep it fairly cool in the background, so I'm going to use this grey that I've just mixed, because that'll give me a softer, more muted green. And I want to keep it a bit blue as well, so I'm mixing a little bit more blue, and I want fairly bright, not bright, but quite a bit of pigment in there. So I'm just going to go in and drop in, and I want it to merge into my other one. There's a little bit of warmth in there as well, so a little bit of orange, just mix in. Add a little bit more blue as we go. I don't want too much detail in here. Well, that's the wrong blue. I tried it with my phthalo the other day, and it just makes it too man-made looking. So I've added in a little bit of burnt umber to this mix. Go back and put in a little bit more of this cadmium yellow. Then I'm going to go back into my blue and my lemon. And I'm not washing my brush off in between, because I want it all to merge. Now it's coming down to the bottom here, so let's think about our reflection. Now the reflection is usually a little bit darker, so we'll add in a bit more blue. Don't forget we've got some of this orange going on here as well, and in here. Just mix back in. Coming down here it gets very dark around my boat, so I've got to be careful to paint around my boat. I've got quite a lot more blue in there, and that comes down around under here, and we do have some watery looking reflections there. I'll drop in a little bit more of my ultramarine, and at the back here, as it comes down around this boat, I think I picked up the wrong blue again there. Again, it comes in much darker in here. Get that sharp edge. And there's a little dip in there. Now I can tighten this up with some white gouache at the end if I've kind of overdone it. And this reflection actually carries on over here. It's going to have similar colours. So let's add a bit of this in over here. More blue. And I will come back and paint this a little later. There's a bit of kind of mud around here, but this is very dark, so I want to try and keep it going if I can. There's some nice lighter greens in here. as well. And this dark comes right the way under my boat. Add in a bit of brown to that, make it a bit more subtle. And then what I'm going to do down here, I'm going to wash my brush off, dip it in some clean water, and just soften this edge a little. I'm going to put our foliage in up here. So up here, there's some very, very bright green. And there's some reflection here. Run out of ultramarine. And some browns. To leave it there because we don't want it all to run into each other. So you can't see here where the water starts and the background finishes. And I can't keep painting because it's drying. So we've got to leave that. She says, leave that and see what happens. Okay. Down here, we have a bit of the sky colour. So I'm going to dry it off my palette. I need to get out some more ultramarine. So I like phthalo for making really nice lime greens. The problem is it can look really artificial. So there's a bit more ultramarine and a bit more lemon. And I'm going to put some more cadmium yellow out as well. Right. Goes a long way when you use professional paints, they do go a very long way. So my sky colour again was ultramarine. You find that reflections are darker, or light things reflect darker and light things reflect lighter. So we have some blue of the sky down here. I'm going to make that a bit more blue. It comes in there and then it merges in here with some of that grey. That's better. Some of the cloud colour. I'm painting around my boat. My reflections are going to actually go darker. And then we've got some clouds coming in. And we've got some very, very pale sky colour coming up and joining this. Now can paint over that if I need to. And in here, there we are. Let's leave that. I'm just going to pick out, lift out this water along the bottom so it doesn't run back. And blend this a little bit. Just with a very damp brush, just blend my edge. It's dried a bit too much. It's still very warm here. Okay. Whew. It's hard working fast. So I want, my roof is quite grey, but it needs to be warmer than my clouds and skies. So my same mix, but I'm mixing in some burnt sienna. And a little bit more, a little bit of variation here. A little bit of blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, just to give it a, oh, that's too much. That is one of the, not drawbacks, but one thing you have to be very aware of with these professional pigments is that they are so vivid and so full of pigment that you can pick up some on your brush and it will completely go nuts. Now I have the white of the window frame, so I need to paint around my windows. And again, it's grey, so I want to use the same basic colours, so my ultramarine. But I don't want it too blue, so let's use my ultramarine, and I'm going to use the same colour for my sky, but to make it more grey I'm going to try adding in a bit of yellow, so it gives me a steelier grey. And I'm going to paint around my windows. Painting fast. And this is a subject you can come back and do again and again, because each time we learn. Right, that's my first wash for my wall. And I have some foliage here I hadn't accounted for. See, look how beautiful is that? So let's add in. I think that's all dried now. That can run into that wall, that's absolutely fine. And there needs to be some quite dark passages in here, so I'm going to drop in some darker colours. So if I use my ultramarine and raw umber, I can get close to a black. Right, I'm going to leave that because that will probably run back and make a cauliflower, which is fine. Actually, I'm going to lift it out. Having said that, oh well, let's lift it out. Probably will still run back a bit. Now, where are we? So I didn't bring this all the way down to the edge, so that was a bit of an oversight. So let's just paint that in a little. This is dry now, so shouldn't cause a problem. Tighten up my bow edge. That's my blue boy. And yeah, I think we're all right down here. This looks terrible. Never mind. Okay, now this needs to be something a little warmer and soft because it's at the front. This is going to be too bright, so let's mix it in with that grey. Down here it's going to be darker, so let's get a little bit of raw umber and drop that in either side. It's actually going to be a little bit darker even down here. Let's do that. That's it. Now my boat. And they are so hard, and I really don't understand why I like doing them so much, but I'm going to do the same, a little bit of a raw umber, because it's not completely white, is it? And then I'm going to fade, just blend that out a little bit. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Let's put a little bit more of that umber mix in under here. So I just want it to spread a little bit. That's fine. Give it a little bit of direction. Out some of the lighter passages. There we are. Because that's spread a bit too fast. That's it. Can lift those out. That's looking all right. Now, where is not wet, where I can carry on painting? Not many places. So we have some beach down here, but I don't really want to do that. I think I'm going to go back up, put some shadow in under my eaves. So I'm picking up some of the colours that I've already mixed. I want kind of a grey, but I want quite a dark grey. So let's go with my ultramarine and my raw umber. I want it quite thick. So that's quite a good shadow colour. There we are. Now we have what we have down here, which I haven't allowed for, is we have some brickwork in here. And I've painted it all green, which is a bit of a shame. So what I might do is come in with some gouache afterwards and improve that. Okay. Got to wait for this to dry. If you've got a hairdryer, it's worth getting it out. I don't know if that's dry. Let's have a look. I want a thin brush. hoping this is dry. I'm making a real pig's ear of this. It's always harder when you are working on cold pressed paper because it warps. Okay, then we have all of this along here. There's not much colour in that, so let's pick up a little bit of something quite dark. It's better. Take away the redness of that reflection. Okay. See if I can put some blue on without it all running. So I've got some blue. I have got a little bit of white gouache here. And just at the bottom we have this blue. It's going to be very dark under there. Okay. These little buoys have blue ends. I'm going to go back into my just ultramarine for these. This is why it's really quite important to make sure you get your drawing right, because I tried free drawing this and it went a bit horribly wrong. Okay, we want a little bit of shadow under them, so any colour that you've made up that looks like a shadow colour is going to go under your buoy. We have them down below as well. There's less colour in them, so try and work out exactly where they are if we haven't got them drawn in. Okay, and then we have lines. Okay, just rinsing my brush off a little bit and softening this. Just give it a little bit more form. And down here. place. That's good. See if I can lift that out. Yeah, probably. Okay. It's easier if you do this bigger, but for time's sake, it's not that straightforward. Oh, we've got the reflection here, the boy, the buffer. That's quite straight. Okay. There's one of those, it's slightly different colour, one of the buffers. This is more of a turquoisey green, in actual fact. Over here. That might just disappear into my water, so let's make it blue. There we are. And then that will just be dark, very dark underneath. And that's quite dark along the top here. Right, what else? That's a dark shadow under there. There we are. We have some wood across the back. That's it. There we are, it's a bit higher there. Okay, and then this one's along there. Now, what have we got on top? We've got a rope, so that actually should have some shadow colour behind it. Take that in. So difficult if you don't get it right the first time. Okay, where are we? I've got a little bit of grey in my boat where my seat is, so it's like a little kind of triangle. It needs to run at exactly the same angle as the rest of the boat. I've got some shadows under here. It gets much darker under here and you actually can't see the colour of the water. That green was probably not the best decision. See, I do like boats, but they are so notoriously hard. I'm going to actually drop a bit of that grey in here. Because that green has really stained. Oh, my angles are all wrong in there. No, it's not too bad, not too bad. Okay, that is actually a rope. Oh, it's really bad. Oh, fun and games. We love it, don't we? Right, let's see if I can put my windows in. Got a small brush. This is much too bright, so I need to neutralise that back. I've just got a grey mix. Look how vibrant that is. I don't want that. That's better. Take it down. Too pigmented. Now my windows. They don't all need to be the same size. Not the same size, don't all need to be the same colour. Variations on the theme. Because they are an impression. Two, three, there we are. That's it, just an impression. Okay, now I need to put some more foliage under my window. That will do. And I need to do something about this back here because it doesn't look quite right. So I can make it darker, but it needs to be bluer and cooler. So let's have a look at where we've got some of the, that's too green. Okay, that's looking a bit more three-dimensional at least. I'm actually using more of a grey than anything. I want this to sit back behind these bright bushes. It's very dark. Oh dear. Does seem to be pushing it back though, doesn't it? Okay, I think that's a bit better. This looks a bit silly. Let's paint this in. Paint around that. Yeah, that's probably a bit better. Okay. A couple of darker washes, I think, in some places. I don't like that green, you see. You shouldn't be able to see that green. It should be darker. I've just mixed a bit more blue and stuff in there. That is also the colour that I need for back here. So just a blue wash over this. Should set that back better. Now I've found this does not match the colour above. Let's put a yellow wash over and see what happens. Okay. Trial and error. See, it doesn't always go right for me either. Just putting some of the fine details in now. This went a bit haywire, didn't it? Don't quite know what happened there. I do have some of these reflections in the water. My windows all look very lopsided, don't they? I might actually resort to pen and ink here. Because these have lost their perspective. So that's supposed to be going at exactly the same angle. And then we can do some just a few marks here, hither and thither. Well, I think that's as good as I can get it. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you did better than I did. Thanks for joining. Give me a thumbs up, a like, a follow. If you want to watch me make more mistakes, then please subscribe. Take care. Cheers. Bye.